Butch and Bob Show.
World famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. That medication that I got a couple days ago is working.
You do sound better today. See, if you'd have gone sooner, you'd have been feeling a lot better instead of coughing up a lung for 3 weeks.
You know,
The moral of that story is go see the doctor when you're as sick
that's
as you
right.
are.
You know, men are.
I know how us guys are. We
I
put it
just
off
can't-
the last
yeah,
minute until we just
right.
almost can't crawl into the doctor's office, and then we show up and want a miracle done. But I'm glad a miracle's been done with you,
You're
Bob,
right.
because you do sound better today, and you got all that medication running
That's
through you, and you
right.
sound a lot better.
It's working.
All right. Well, sounds good. We got a guest this morning. Who do we have?
Hey, we got the head baseball coach, Jesup McDonald, also the athletic director. But tonight is scrimmage at Howard Bo Warrenfield against Long County. But the season's right around the corner. But they're also this Saturday's fun day and the hit-a-thon, and a lot of questions asked about what all that's about. So just thought I'd get him to first talk about tonight's game and then talk about the weekend festivities and the upcoming season. So let's start with tonight. What can we expect from Long County and the Wayne County Yellow Jackets?
Coach Hobbs, he started here at I guess in 17, and ever since he's left here and took that head job, he's done a real good job with that program over there, and always putting them in contention to get in the playoffs and win games in the playoffs, and that's not an easy place to do that, and he does it every year. So that's a tribute to him and his staff and that community. But again, it's one of those we're friends, and our kids are friends, so it's one of those that you play, and it's more of they got a good opportunity to make a good gate at a scrimmage game, and we'll have an opportunity to do that tonight. And obviously, it's kind of just a tune-up to get both teams ready for next week, and they're going to be competitive. I know that they're going to compete, and if you don't play well, they'll beat you, and if they don't play well, we'll beat them. So we're looking forward to it. We scrimmaged on Tuesday against each other. It's always a little different when somebody else has a different color uniform on, but we'll throw some of our older guys. We'll throw multiple guys and kind of get them set up for next week, and then we'll have our third scrimmage on Saturday after the hit-a-thon and all. And the hit-a-thon is something we've done here for years, and it's I've said as an athletic director and before that the head baseball coach, the things that set you apart and with your program, obviously you got to have great players, but the financial commitment to be great, and then your facilities, and fundraising is a huge avenue and part of raising that money. And the hit-a-thon is something that allows those kids to get out there, especially the middle school kids, to get out there on the bow and hit and take BP. And the one thing we do allow them to do, bats have changed over the years, and whether people agree or disagree, whether they were hotter back then or hotter now, there are some bats that that ball does travel a little bit further if you use them. So we allow them to use that and have fun. And at the end of the day, it's about having fun and raising money to go directly back to our kids. But that'll start Saturday at 10 o'clock. Middle schools will go first, and then the high school players will go. And then right after that, we'll play another 6-inning game and try to get our guys ready for Monday, because, gold team and black team both play on Monday at Pierce County.
Do you see that in baseball? Are they always constantly trying to improve the bats? I don't know if you can in professional, because it's wood is wood. But, in golf, the clubs are always, just imagine what if the players years ago would have had today's clubs, what they could have done. Do you have that in baseball, or is there a standard in high school baseball when it comes to bats and they can't change each year?
I think they're always trying to make them better. And, you get, there's so much video and testing that goes on with bats. I know my 8-year-old John Carson at home, he's always watching videos where they do bat tests and see which is the hottest bat. And I do know years ago when they went to the BB Corps, and it was a safety issue, and everybody wants to, the game got kind of boring through that time. They want a lot of home runs hit, and even in high school and in the collegiate level. And I'm a fan of the old school ball where you're butting runners over and trying to take an extra base. But, people want to sit in the seats and see balls fly out of the park. So, you're getting that avenue where the ball companies try to make the ball compensate and make up for what they did to the bat. So everybody's getting getting what they want out of it. But I think the big thing is a safety issue. There's some bats, just me, having kids coming up through, the recreation and the travel baseball. There's some bats that, a 6, 7, 8-year-old, I wouldn't throw BP to them without an L screen. just the way the ball comes off those bats, especially some of the ones that like a USSSA bat, and then in recreation they use the USA bat, and there's a significant difference in them. But again, the high school it's the BB course, a -3. Before, way back, it was -5, and then they went to -3. And I think also kids these days are so much stronger than they were years ago, because the weight room's really taking a strong standpoint in athletics, and kids are lifting year round, and obviously, the nutrition and the things that they're available for them to use. I think the kids are overall in better condition and better shape than they were. And I granted, 10 years ago, there were some kids that were in top shape, and you saw kids that could hit balls as far as anybody. But I always say that at the end of the day, you got to see the ball and hit the ball. So it still takes a hand-eye coordination. And I had that conversation. My son's got like 3 bats. He was telling me which one he was going to use and all this. I said, the bat don't matter. It's the user of the bat. You better be using it properly, or it don't matter. So, and he don't like to hear that, but it is what it is. So.
Well, I know when I was at Wayne County High School, the only people that were really in the weight room, and the weights were just kind of scattered here, there, and yonder in the old gym, wasn't like a weight room, was the football team. And there's just a few of those. Usually it was just the linemen or something like that. We the baseball team, the track, basketball, what's a weight room? We don't need that, And we ate fried food when we went home. We didn't have nutrition and stuff like that. But today's athletes are a lot better shape than they were years ago, half a century ago.
And we're fortunate here. Our administration throughout the years have designed a plan where, me as a head baseball coach prior to being the AD, we got to see our kids every day in the weight room. So you had your entire team. Now, obviously, if they're playing a fall sport or a football guy that's also a baseball guy, they were in the football class in the fall semester. But the guys that weren't, they're in your class in fall, and then they're in your class in spring. And again, you got your basketball team in there. You got softball, volleyball, girls basketball. We got. I know in our class right now, there's 3 or 4 wrestlers that are working out in there too, and it's starting to take on some of the again, as we talked about the facilities. You want every sport to have an opportunity to get in there. Plus, you want your general students to have an opportunity, because everybody financially can't get a gym membership. So you want them to have opportunities to get in there. And overall health is a critical thing in today's world. So you want kids to have the opportunity. But 15 years ago, I know when I first become the head, it's kind of it was a fight to get them in there. But now, if you don't put them in there, they'll complain about not going in there, which is
and hopefully we'll be getting a new weight room in the next couple of years. That's going to be great.
Which something you want in your program. And I think all of our coaches done a great job of making that a priority. And you win games in there, and sometimes the kids don't see it and the community don't see it, but there's a lot of things that go into that weight room that are good that a lot of people don't get to see.
Well, the preparation before the season begins determines how well you'll play during the season.
Yes, and team chemistry. I'm big on, you build you team bond, and the chemistries. It's not always easy in there. There's some days, whether you're in 4th block or you're in 1st block, there's some days you just don't want to be in there, and as a kid, they may be woke up not feeling well, or didn't eat breakfast, or dragging that day, or got back late. But that's where you see kids rally around each other, motivate, and push each other to get in there and get it done. And ultimately, when you walk out of there, everybody feels good about themselves.
Right.
Scrimmage tonight, there is a admission charge, right?
Yes, it's a normal admission, $7. So again, that's we want a big crowd, and I know springtime is hectic, and with everything going on from middle school sports to soccer to everything's kicked off. Wrestling's finishing up, going to sectionals this week, and the basketball region tournaments going on. Soccer scrimmage on Tuesday. Tennis opened up against Brantley this week. So, tracks. I think the 13th is their first meet. So everything's in full motion. Golf's coming up too. So, it's one of those things. I know we always get. Well, I go to a middle school game, then I got a kid playing soccer, and I'll just be patient, because we're working on as an athletic department, some kind of pass possibly for the community to purchase, and obviously to help. Obviously, the money revenue in the athletic department comes through ticket sales, so we got to be careful to make sure we still getting what we need for our programs to be successful. Also, allow community members to have kind of a financial relief of something they can purchase. We did the student pass for $75, and there was only about, I think, 35 to 40 kids that bought it, where they get in everything for $75, and there was only about 35 to 40 bought it. Hopefully that'll go up next year, because you do want your students there to create that atmosphere, and hopefully we can start that tonight, and then I think our next home one is a big one against Appleton next Thursday. So.
That's the home game, but the first game is going to be at Pierce County on Monday, so that's what kicks off the 30-game schedule.
Yeah.
Region schedule won't kick in for a couple more weeks, but I was in Brunswick. A guy from Ware County cornered me and told me how loaded Ware County is this year. He said, "Look out for us." I said, "No, I don't believe that." But anyway.
Well,
I said, "I think we're pretty good ourselves."
I've heard a lot of that too. I'm worried about tonight. That's why people circle that last series, and I don't know. That's just the way the region schedule worked out, where that's the last 3 games of the year, and it could mean something or it could not mean something. So if we don't do what we're supposed to do prior to that, all that don't matter. So I know the old cliche, one game at a time, or we're going through something. We had the opportunity. And I don't know if I told you this, Bob, but Saturday we were finishing up our inter squad, and this guy walks up behind me and kind of puts his arm on my shoulder and says, "How you doing, Coach?" I turn around, it's Ryan Kolesko. So he come out, and obviously we have some guys that play with him in the summer, and he had an opportunity to talk with our guys, and when somebody like that's talking, from me to all the way to an 8-year-old son sitting there, you taking it all in, but something that after he got done and sitting talking with him, we've adopted a 1-for-1 motto, and it's kind of everything you do from one pitch to the other, where you're on base or you're in the field or you're hitting, you try to be 1-for-1 on each pitch, and that's whether if you're on your pre-pitch routine in the outfield, making sure you're on the ball of your feet ready to go, and then you say I'm 1-for-1, and if you want 1-for-1, you try to get 1-for-1 on the next one. And I really think we started that, and you can see some guys, they take pride in everything they do. You can see them; they'll make one bad swing and they're round to 5 in the cage, and then they think 1-for-1, and next thing you know, they're 4-for-5. So I think that's kind of been critical to kind of narrow it down in terms of how a high school kid thinks, and not so much of the big picture, but something small in front of them. So every kid in high school wants to feel like they accomplished something, and obviously if you can accomplish a lot of 1-for-1s back to back to back, then you're gonna have success. So,
there's a lot of talent coming back from last year's team. A lot of pitchers that are going to see a lot of time on the mound. But I guess the big question mark coming to this season is, of course, catcher. Everybody knows, following this team the last couple of years, Tyler Wallen was pretty much the starting catcher from his sophomore year, junior. He caught every single game. So, who's behind the dish this year for Wayne County?
We have 2 guys. Gunnar Campbell. They're both juniors. Gunnar Campbell and Zach Ellis, and they're competing. I don't necessarily, right now anybody separated themselves. So, they're going to compete it out. We're going to give them opportunities. You may see one of them get, with some people kind of down right now and making sure they're healthy going into next week. You may see one of them move to the outfield, and, one of them is kind of versatile, can run a little bit. So, again, those guys have, I'll say it, and, they know it. I'm hard on them. And, because that's a critical position in this game, and you got to be sound back there, because I'm talking about you're pretty much, you in the pitcher, you're touching the ball every pitch, or a high percentage of those you're in contact, and it comes down to throwing and catching and keeping the ball in front. But I'm hard on Coach Brian. He's our catching guy. He caught here a few years ago, and he's hard on them too. They've done a good job of improving, and they put in the work through 4-on-1s in the fall and in January, and they've been, the one thing that we really worry about is receiving the ball and keeping it in front. I'm not too concerned. Catchers really want to start trying to throw people out. We can manage that on the mound, the way we hold runners and do things like that. We just need them to keep the ball in front and receive it, and steal strikes when they want to. So both of those guys are, they'll mix in and out tonight, and then probably throughout the first couple of weeks, and find out where it settles itself out. Because if you look back, Jacob Brewer and Tyler Wallen, over the last, I don't know how many years, those guys were behind the plate. So,
Right.
and I think Gunnar has some, and Zach had opportunities in and out some last year. But that's something I know. I think there needs to be a lot more emphasis on, at a younger age of of catching. You know, I think the other one is Ronan Dunham, who's a freshman. You know, he's a catcher. So there's really, you know, in the high school program right now, there's 3 catchers through 4 grades. So now there are some guys that can get back there and get it done if we have to. And, you know, you don't want that to happen because some of those guys are better at other positions and we need them at other positions. So, but again, I think there needs a little more emphasis put on catching at it, you know, going through and kind of develop those kids. And because there's not a lot of them, I know you got to want to be back there. You know, you got to want to put that gear on and go get beat up every day. And, you know, I think that builds character, and, you know, it takes a special person to get back there. Well, we got 2 good ones right now.
Seems like GHSA keeps pushing the season up earlier.
Yeah.
We're starting earlier than we normally do, right? And is that because somebody told me that the reason they're doing that is when the baseball playoffs, you know, get underway, the state finals, there's always that decision. People have graduation plan, and parents have had to make the decision: are you going to be the state final game, or are you going to be at graduation? Is that why they're pushing everything up to
Well, I
try
think
to
some of
avoid all that?
Well, I think some of it is, you know, I'll say a few years ago they sent out a survey and to all the head baseball coaches about playing these state championship games at professional parks, and I think it was somewhere between 90% said they didn't want to do that. They'd rather it be like at the
Your local
home
park,
place. And,
right?
you know, I guess that 90% wasn't good enough. So, from what I understand, they set these dates for the state championship because that's where they can fit them in, whether it's at, I don't know, Gwinnett, Rome, Augusta, Georgia
Southern, right?
or
Yeah, I got
now
you.
you got Columbus over there now with the AA team. You know, even, you know, they got away from Savannah, and, you know, I think they get that schedule, and then obviously that has to work for everybody. So then they try to work backwards, and wherever it falls, and, you know, I'm not a fan of it. I just remember our one. It's a totally different atmosphere. They don't give you opportunities to take BP or do anything. You show up, you see the field one time, and you're playing on it. And I don't think those people understand. You know, hopefully we get the opportunity to do that again and finish it. But, you know, sometimes that may be the only opportunity, obviously for those kids, but for a coach and a coaching staff that they get to do that. You know, Georgia High School gets to do it every year. But, you know, you get into where it's about the kids. Sometimes I don't really think it's about the kids. So it's about what fits in their plan and their narrative of what they want. But, you know, just like the start date, starting on January 28th, and we're playing on February 6th. You know, I could tell you right now, we have a checklist of all the stuff that we got to cover before we play our first game, and there's probably 50% of it haven't been covered, and of that 50%, probably 25% of it's been covered verbally, which, you know, with, you know, high school kids, even college kids, you can talk about it, but until you see it on the field and see it in live action, you don't feel good about it. So, you know, there's probably going to be a double cut tonight, and we ain't put in a double cut yet, you know, just because I'm talking about the older guys know it, but, you know, obviously, you know, you want to kind of refresh it and go over it. We went over it on a dry erase board, but hopefully, you know, they line it up right and do it right if it happens. But, you know, I don't think they understand quite what they did with, you know, even if you look at, if you don't scrimmage, you still play in 14 days. And, you know, you talk about other sports where, you know, some of these, like the fall sports, they get the whole summer because they pick their teams in the May. And then you look at, you know, football, and then, you know, look at the time from basketball to the first game. And, you know, it don't make sense. And, you know, I think Georgia High School has added so many sports. And, you know, you want kids to have opportunities, but it's starting to kind of overlap each other. And, you know, I've heard programs where kids don't want to do this because they're going to miss this. You know, if you're a good basketball player, Georgia High School has made it where, and you're a good basketball team, if your team makes a run to the finals, you'll miss 25% or so of your baseball schedule.
Right.
And obviously, you know, I think here, if that was a case here, then I think our coaching staff is good enough and works well enough together that you could work it out where the trust issue is there, where kids could get those opportunities if they need them. But I don't understand. You know, used to kids would graduate and the state championships would be on like Memorial Day weekend. I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't know. You know, I would rather a kid have to choose between playing in a state championship or going on a senior trip instead of packing it all in there and trying to, you know, and again, putting it on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and it's 5 hours away from rural South Georgia and people couldn't make it, or, either way, wherever you're at, football same way. They play football championships on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever happened to the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's all about fitting it into the facility. And again, I'm a small voice of that. I hear frustration from other athletic directors and coaches, and it is what it is right now.
You would think they would do what the athletic directors and head coaches of the different sports would want to do. I mean, they are representing them, not themselves. But it seems like common sense somewhere has just left the building.
And I get some kind of survey on the reclass about every couple of weeks where they ask the questions about, like, what does your school do or what's your school allow? And I saw there's somebody proposing another one where they're going to go to 4 classes and there'll be 2 state champions in every classification. And I don't quite understand it because at the end of the day, you still have 8 state champions. So it's kind of, again, there's people on committees up there and people on the board of trustees that make decisions. And sometimes you wonder, like, where the voices are or if they even heard. So, it's kind of frustrating, but, again, we just try to make sure our programs and make sure we have everybody ready to compete at a high level, and wherever it falls. But again, I don't know how the decision making process is in some of this stuff. So there was a time where all high school baseball coaches had a vote where they want to have tryouts in July, which for fundraising purposes, and if you could have tryouts in July and then everybody knows going into the season. Now obviously there's some kid out of town or kid moves in, from out of town for various reasons, that they'll have the opportunity to make the team. But, that got voted down. But every high school, I would say, venture say above 80% of high school coaches wanted it. So it don't make sense. They ask for votes and then obviously they
Who
make a decision.
hires the folks for the Georgia High School Association?
I'm not real sure on that. So
I mean, somebody has to put them in power, and they've got to have the power to be able to tell all the schools what to do.
Yeah.
Bob, do you know who hires the president or the executive director and the board and stuff like that? Somebody has to hire them and say, "You're hired. You're getting on there."
I really don't know.
No, we need to find that out.
Which is, again, Georgia High School we're fortunate to have something to play for and something, you look at some other states, they got, the way stuff is done, it's all kinds of different ways. But, I think just for baseball, I know next year there's going to be a proposal where you do get 5 weeks of preseason and possibly a couple of preseason games into it. Maybe there's a 2-week where you can be with your team and before tryouts and basically do arm care and stuff. But obviously you couldn't be no bats, but you can do your throwing programs together as a team. So I do know there's some initiative that has been brought forward by coaches, and there's been some meetings. I know Coach Glass down at Hazelhurst, he's one of those, been doing it a long time, and he's been in some of those meetings and, obviously relays that message. But I don't think they like the way the start dates, because this is the first time they've had a universal start date for all the spring sports. So every spring sport that we have started on January 28th. So, you look, soccer played 7 days or 8 days. They played Tuesday. Tennis played, so they were playing in 8 days. So if you wasn't doing anything in the fall, you're way behind. And, again, our coaches do a good job with the 4-on-1s and the conditioning and things like that to make sure they're ready. I said it before, it's not like they told us in January the 1st that the start date's the 28th. We knew the start date was 28th in the summertime. Mm-hmm. So if you're complaining about it, and, like, I don't agree with it, but I'm not going to complain about it because we knew it was that in the summertime. So our plan was put together to make sure our guys are ready on February the 10th based on the 28th to make sure they were doing stuff prior to first day of tryout. So
we'll definitely look forward to the scrimmage tonight against Long County. It should be fun. And then looking forward to the broadcast on Monday over in Pierce County. And then the following a week from tonight, Appleton County rolls into town. So 2 games to start the season could be against 2 big rivals. So it should be fun.
Yeah, I told our guys yesterday the first 10 on that schedule, you can be 0-10 or 10-0 or anywhere in between. So it's we take pride in it, and I know it's kind of to make that schedule and make it as tough as it can be. And I think that first week it's Pierce, Appleton, Colquitt County, and then I think it's Vidalia, Brunswick, and then go to Atlanta. So with Brookwood, I saw over there, I think they're ranked like number 11th. And in the whole state of Georgia in every classification, and then they're in the top 25 in the nation, so that'll be a good test. And obviously Logan will be on Richmond Hill. But, we also on February 17th, we're doing it's a day, I'm talking about it's a holiday for our school system. And, we play a home game that night. We're going to do a one-day instructional camp, hitting camp for kids ages 7 and up at Howard Bo Warren Field from 9:30 to 12:30. And, they'll sign up through WayneBaseballCamps.com, and that's also if they attend the camp, that'll be admission into that game that night. So that's something we're doing on the 17th of February, and making sure those kids have opportunity to get out there. And they don't want to be around me, as I've said before. They want to be around those guys, and a lot of them already be in the stands and see those guys. So that'll give an opportunity for them to come, and it'll be 3 hours worth of hitting. So they'll get an opportunity to get better, be around the players, and obviously come watch them play that night.
Sounds good, Coach. Again, appreciate you coming in. Always good to see you.
No problem. Thank you all for having
me. Thank you, Coach. All right. Anything else, Bob? All right. That wraps up the world-famous Butch and Bob show here on WIFO, 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. And it's brought to you by Murphy Builder Supply, by the Service Department at GNS Auto Sales. Also brought to you by First Southern Bank and Heron Aldridge Insurance.